The girl was driven away from an elite party because of her skin color. But when they found out who her grandfather was, their knees began to tremble. The majestic Okoye residence glowed with lights at the height of the celebration. Elegant lanterns illuminated the manicured courtyard, while the sounds of traditional music filled the evening air. Among the many guests, Amara and her 10-year-old daughter, Zuri, kept modestly to themselves, trying not to draw attention. Amara worked as an assistant at Okoye's company and was invited to the party more out of courtesy than the host's genuine desire. No one could have imagined that the greatest scandal of their lives would break out when a group of children playing by the ornamental pond chased little Zuri away. Zuri timidly stepped closer, hoping to make new friends. But her appearance sparked a reaction far from what she expected. A boy named Chinelo looked at her with open disdain and began to attack her with cruel words. "You don't belong here," he said coldly, his voice cutting like a knife. His eyes swept over Zuri's simple dress. "You're not one of us." Zuri stepped back, her eyes filling with tears of hurt. Amara, noticing what was happening, hurried to her daughter. "What's going on here?" she asked, trying to stay calm though her voice betrayed her growing tension. Before Chinelo could answer, his mother, Mrs. Adaise Okoye, rushed over. "Your daughter is distracting the other children. This celebration is not for the likes of her." Humiliation burned inside Amara. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with pride. "And what exactly do you mean by the likes of her? Why not say it plainly? My daughter has every right to be here, just like any other child." "Enough," Mr. Obinna, the head of the family, cut in. "If you insist on creating a scene, I must ask you to leave the premises." The conflict between the adults escalated, and all eyes turned to them. The music suddenly stopped, and a heavy silence filled the air. The guests looked at Amara and Zuri with condemnation, as if they had done something shameful, though they had done nothing wrong. As Amara and Zuri made their way toward the exit, a new guest appeared on the doorstep, an elderly man, elegant and commanding respect with his mere presence. It was Mr. Kofi, an influential businessman, and, as it turned out, the true superior of Mr. Obinna. Seeing the distressed Amara and Zuri, his face darkened. "What is happening in this house?" His voice rang out, making Amara freeze in her tracks. Mr. Obinna turned pale when he recognized him and struggled to explain, but words stuck in his throat. "These two caused a disturbance." Mrs. Adaise Okoye hurried to intervene, trying to take control of the situation. Mr. Kofi looked at Zuri, then at Amara, and finally fixed his gaze on the hosts. "This girl is my granddaughter," he declared firmly, and the room fell into dead silence. His words struck like thunder. Mr. Obinna and his wife exchanged terrified glances, while the guests whispered among themselves, shock written across every face. "I believe we need to have a conversation, Obinna," Mr. Kofi said, directing a heavy gaze at the man who had been his subordinate for many years. Obinna's knees trembled at the mere thought of what his superior's anger could bring. Amara and Zuri, still with tears in their eyes, but now with a spark of hope, stood close together. Mr. Kofi's revelation had completely changed the course of the evening. Amara watched, holding Zuri's hand, as Obinna's face grew paler with every passing moment. He looked as though he might faint. Mr. Kofi spoke in a calm tone, yet his voice carried unyielding authority. "Obinna, you have served me for many years, and I never imagined you would allow my own granddaughter to be humiliated under your roof." Obinna swallowed hard and tried to justify himself. "Mr. Kofi, I had no idea Zuri was your granddaughter. If I had known. So your behavior would have been different. Kofi cut him off, steel in his voice. Do you need to know of my blood ties in order to treat a child with respect? Obinna had no words. Beside him, Mrs. Adaeze Okoye wanted to intervene but was paralyzed by fear. One glance from Mr. Kofi silenced her completely. Meanwhile, the guests began whispering, the atmosphere heavy with tension and unspoken questions. Seizing the moment, Amara turned to those present. I hope this evening serves as a lesson for all of us. A lesson in respect and dignity, which every person deserves, regardless of their background or social standing. After a brief but charged silence, Mr. Kofi stepped into the center of the hall again, with Amara and Zuri beside him. The music had stopped entirely. All eyes were on him. This evening has been a revelation for us all. He began in a firm voice. We have witnessed not only the absence of compassion, but also the strength of a mother and the courage of a child. Zuri, my granddaughter, has shown more dignity today than many adults in this room. Then he turned to Obinna and his wife. I hope you will reflect seriously on what has happened. And I expect not only an apology, but also that you will do everything possible to repair the damage caused. My partnership with your family will be reconsidered in light of these events. Obinna nodded, fully aware of the gravity of the moment. We will do whatever is necessary, Mr. Kofi, he said, not only for the sake of our business relationship, but because it is the right thing to do. Amara, relieved but still wary, embraced Zuri, who clung to her mother for comfort. Though the evening had begun in humiliation, it ended with a promise of change and redemption. Yet neither Obinna nor Adaeze, nor those who had humiliated little Zuri, suspected that from this moment, the harshest retribution imaginable was about to fall upon them. Their life of luxury and excess was soon to change, because of a chain of events that no one, not even the shrewdest observer, could have foreseen. Dear readers, if you are enjoying this story, I would be deeply grateful for your support. Just subscribe. It will help me continue bringing you the best tales. Thank you in advance. The next morning, Obinna sat in his office, his mind feverishly searching for a way to turn the situation to his advantage. The public humiliation at the hands of Mr. Kofi had been a devastating blow to his pride and his standing. He urgently summoned a meeting with his closest advisors, men carefully chosen for their loyalty and cunning. We need a strategy to resolve this problem, Obinna said tensely, striking his fist on the table. We cannot allow Mr. Kofi to dictate how we run our family and our business. Adaeze, fanning the flames, suggested, what if we find something to use against Mr. Kofi? Something that will make him think twice before interfering with us again. One of the advisors, a calculating and shrewd man, added, we could conduct a discreet investigation into his past. Everyone has secrets, even Mr. Kofi. Obinna, disgusted yet intrigued, nodded. Do it. Find something we can use. I will not let this incident mark the end of our influence. Meanwhile, Amara was strengthening her position in Mr. Kofi's company, fully aware that Obinna might try to undermine her after the previous night's events. She knew she had to prove herself a reliable and competent professional. She met with colleagues and partners demonstrating her skills. I am not here to create enemies, but to build lasting business relationships. Yet I will firmly defend my principles against anyone who tries to push me off course. Amara made it clear that she could not be intimidated or swayed, setting a tone of determination and resilience that resonated with many around her. At the same time, Obinna, with Adaeze's quiet support, authorized a thorough investigation into Mr. Kofi's past. A private investigator was hired, who began digging into archives and obscure connections, searching for any hint of misconduct or scandal that could be weaponized. Weeks later, the detective convened Obinna and Adaize for a late-night meeting in a secluded spot. The air was thick with anticipation as he spread out documents and photographs across the table. "I found something that may interest you," he said, pointing to a series of financial transactions and questionable partnerships from a decade ago. "They are not recent matters, but if this information were made public, it could cast doubt on Mr. Kofi's integrity." Obinna studied the papers, his face lighting up with a mix of triumph and thirst for revenge. "Excellent!" he exclaimed. "This is exactly what we need. Prepare everything for a discreet leak. I want Mr. Kofi to feel the pressure before he even realizes what is happening." While Obinna was preparing his next move, Amara one afternoon received an anonymous phone call warning her that an attack against Mr. Kofi was being planned. Alarmed, she decided to inform him immediately. At Mr. Kofi's residence, Amara revealed the threat. "Mr. Kofi, someone is trying to undermine your reputation. I received a warning. I believe Obinna is behind it." Though troubled, Mr. Kofi did not look surprised. "Thank you, Amara. I suspected Obinna might resort to such tactics. We must act swiftly and protect my reputation." Together, they decided to call a press conference to get ahead of any attempt by Obinna to spread damaging information, to frame the disclosure in a way that minimized harm and presented Mr. Kofi as open and accountable. Journalists and members of society gathered in the hall, whispering about the sudden urgency of the event. Mr. Kofi stood before the microphones, his calm demeanor masking inner tension. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming at this important moment," he began. "Today I want to address the rumors that have begun circulating. Rumors calling into question my integrity and my past." Calmly, he laid out the transactions and associations he knew Obinna might use against him, explaining each situation with clarity and transparency. "Every decision was made with the best judgment at the time. I take full responsibility for my actions, both the wise and the mistaken." The audience sat in stunned silence, processing Mr. Kofi's unexpected candor. Amara, standing behind him, scanned the crowd, gauging their reactions. Meanwhile, Obinna, watching the press conference live, slammed his fist on the table in fury. His plan to destabilize Mr. Kofi was collapsing before his eyes. "That old man is craftier than I thought," Obinna exclaimed irritably. Adaize stepped toward him, trying to calm him. "We can still turn this to our advantage. We can cast doubt on his sincerity and point out the details he conveniently omitted." Obinna nodded, his mind racing. "Prepare a statement for the press. We'll undermine his credibility. If he wants to play in public, then let's show the public all the sides of his so-called transparency." The conflict was far from over. Obinna was determined to continue his campaign against Mr. Kofi, further inflaming an already volatile public dispute. After Mr. Kofi's press conference, Obinna immediately organized his counterattack. He called an emergency meeting with his closest advisors and public relations team to devise a response that would challenge the sincerity of Mr. Kofi's voluntary disclosure. In the lavish conference room of his company, Obinna addressed his team with tension and calculation. "Mr. Kofi wants to appear like an open book, but we all know that even the most transparent books can hide secrets between the lines. We need to make the public doubt what he left unsaid, what was conveniently omitted from his story." Adaize, always eager to fuel her husband's intrigues, suggested, "We can hint that his transparency is nothing more than a facade." What if we spread doubts about the completeness of his revelations? We can imply there's much more he hasn't spoken of. One of the advisors, a crisis management specialist, proposed a more aggressive tactic. We could find someone from his past who might speak out against him. We don't need hard evidence. Just a shadow of doubt will be enough. Obinna nodded with satisfaction, approving the approach. "Excellent," Obinna said. "Adaez, contact the PR department. I want this idea in the headlines by tomorrow. We'll make people wonder if they truly know the real Mr. Kofi." With the strategy approved, the team immediately went to work, preparing a series of carefully crafted statements and leaks designed to sow doubt in the public mind. "I know someone who can help us change the rules of the game," Obinna added. While Obinna and Adesi were plotting their strategy, Amara was preparing for the possible fallout. Knowing Obinna's determination, she understood that the battle was far from over. Determined to protect her family and her position in the company, Amara gathered her own team of allies and legal advisors. "We will not be intimidated," she told them. "Mr. Kofi and Zuri are counting on me to always stay one step ahead." The power struggle had entered an active phase, each side adjusting its strategies on an increasingly complex chessboard. Following his plan, Obinna met in an inconspicuous cafe with a former business partner of Mr. Kofi, a man who had once suffered from his decisions and still harbored a deep grudge. In the dim light, the man's words carried both promise and threat. "Mr. Kofi is not the righteous man he pretends to be. I have proof of deals that could shake his reputation." He slid a sealed envelope across the table to Obinna. Obinna smirked and nodded. "Just what I need. How much do you want?" "I only want Mr. Kofi to get what he deserves," the man replied, bitterness in his voice. With the envelope in hand, Obinna returned home and discussed the next step with Adaze. They decided to act immediately, planning a leak of the information just before the upcoming shareholders' meeting at Mr. Kofi's company to strike with maximum effect. While Obinna wove his intrigues, Amara was strengthening her position within the company, aware of the escalating conflict. At a meeting with colleagues, she voiced her concerns about Obinna's possible retaliation and the need to be prepared for any outcome. "We must be ready to defend not only Mr. Kofi, but also the integrity of our work," Amara said, her words resonating with determination. Zuri, though still a child, was becoming more involved in the family's struggles. Watching her mother, she decided to take an active role. "Mama, I want to help. Maybe I can tell people what we went through. Show them that injustice must be stopped." Amara looked at her daughter with a smile. "Of course, Zuri. Your voice is just as important as anyone else's. Together we can withstand whatever Obinna throws at us." As Zuri prepared to step into a more visible role and Amara strengthened her alliances, their family became a symbol of hope and resilience. Yet the coming storm threatened to test their strength and unity as never before. The tension in Mr. Kofi's company reached a breaking point when Amara, after days of investigations and difficult conversations, revealed the secret behind her long-standing resentment toward him. During a meeting with top executives, she resolved to speak openly. "Mr. Kofi, it's time for the truth to come out," Amara said, her voice firm yet trembling with restrained emotion. Mr. Kofi, who had been expecting this moment, nodded with a trace of resignation. "You are right, Amara. Everyone must know what really happened." Amara revealed that years ago, Mr. Kofi had made financial and personal decisions, which, though not illegal, had harmed her mother and caused their separation. The revelation shocked everyone present, and the room fell into a tense silence. "I acted in the way I thought was right at the time," said Mr. Kofi, with a sincerity no one had ever seen from him before. "But now I see how much pain I caused. Amara, I never wanted you to suffer because of my mistakes." His public admission left the board of directors speechless. Amara, moved by his honesty, understood that this was only the beginning of a long road to reconciliation. "An apology is not owed only to me, Mr. Kofi," she replied softly, yet firmly. "Many people suffered because of your choices, but today I am ready to work with you to make things right." The relationship between Amara and Mr. Kofi, which had just begun to heal, soon faced a new trial when Amara assumed a more prominent role in his company. Employees, accustomed to the old hierarchy, did not accept her new position easily. Subordinates ignored her instructions, and executives applied pressure with impossible expectations. "We need results, Amara. We can't afford to wait," one department head said in a condescending tone. Remaining calm, Amara replied, "Results will come when everyone in this company learns to work together and respect leadership, no matter where it comes from." Resistance inside the company grew, and Amara found herself fighting on several fronts at once. One evening, exhausted and frustrated, she went to Mr. Kofi's office. "I can't go on like this, Kofi. If you don't change the corporate culture, they'll destroy not only me, but you and everything you've built," she said, her voice breaking with fatigue. Seeing how heavily the conflict weighed on her, Mr. Kofi promised his full support. "You're right, Amara. I will do whatever it takes to change things. I will not allow them to break you or our family." Then came an unexpected crisis, a series of poor decisions made by dishonest executives, who were soon dismissed, left the company on the brink of bankruptcy. News leaked to the press, and the business community watched with both curiosity and schadenfreude. At an emergency meeting, Mr. Kofi, Amara, and the senior managers sat around the conference table, their faces filled with worry. "We must act quickly if we want to save this company," said Mr. Kofi, his voice tense but resolute. Amara, scanning the financial documents before her, pointed to the critical areas. "We need an immediate restructuring plan, but more importantly, we must come together as a team. If we don't learn to work as one, all of this will be in vain." Internal resistance persisted, but the urgency of the situation forced some to reconsider their attitudes. Yet one of the most influential executives, Tembe, voiced his doubt openly. "Why should we follow you, Amara? You don't have the experience to handle a crisis of this scale," he said defiantly. Amara looked him straight in the eye and answered with newfound confidence. "Perhaps I lack experience, but I have determination and the support of Mr. Kofi. And more importantly, I have the will to do whatever it takes to save this company and protect the jobs of thousands of people." Mr. Kofi intervened, standing firmly behind her. "Tembe, if you cannot work under Amara's leadership, then perhaps you should reconsider your place here. This crisis demands the full commitment of everyone, and there is no room for doubt or division." His words made it clear. Loyalty and cooperation were no longer optional. They were mandatory. The pressure and drama inside the company hung heavily in the air. But the leadership was determined to face the crisis with courage and unity. Amara and Mr. Kofi worked tirelessly, implementing the restructuring plan. Nights turned into sleepless days, and every decision carried enormous weight. Employees, initially skeptical, began to see Amara's dedication and selflessness, and gradually their attitudes shifted. In the midst of the restructuring, Amara and Mr. Kofi were dealt another blow. A new twist in the crisis revealed betrayal from within Mr. Kofi's inner circle. Anonymous documents and emails began to surface, exposing that some of the most trusted executives had secretly been sabotaging the recovery efforts. One afternoon, while reviewing reports, Amara received an anonymous message. The sender had attached proof implicating several high-ranking directors. Heart pounding, Amara brought the documents to Mr. Kofi. "Look, Kofi, we are fighting not only an external crisis, but enemies within," she said, her voice trembling with outrage. Mr. Kofi, seeing the evidence, felt a mixture of betrayal and fury. "I cannot believe this is happening. These people have been with me for years," he said. They decided to convene an emergency meeting with the accused directors immediately. The tension in the boardroom was palpable. Every glance was charged with suspicion and distrust. "We have irrefutable evidence that some of you have acted against the interests of this company," Mr. Kofi began in a firm voice. "This is unacceptable." One of the accused, Mvenya, tried to defend himself. "This is a misunderstanding. There was no betrayal, only mistakes and poor decisions." Holding the documents in her hands, Amara accused them directly. "These letters are not a misunderstanding. They are proof of deliberate betrayal. How can you justify this?" The room fell silent. The accused had no convincing answers. Mr. Kofi made a swift but necessary decision. "Mvenya and all those involved are dismissed immediately. I will not allow these betrayals to destroy what we have built." News of the mass dismissals spread quickly, sparking a mixture of relief and fear among the staff. Meanwhile, Amara and Mr. Kofi knew the battle was far from over. With the traitors gone, Mr. Kofi's company slowly began to stabilize. Amara assumed an even more decisive role, proving her ability to lead firmly and confidently. But this rise did not escape Obina's attention. He began to see Amara's success as a direct threat to his power. Enraged by recent events, Obina gathered Adaze and his closest allies for a secret meeting at his residence. "We cannot allow Amara and Mr. Kofi to win this battle. If we let them continue, we will lose everything we have built," he declared, his voice trembling with barely contained hatred. Adaze, ever calculating, suggested, "We need a blow that will leave them speechless, something that will utterly destroy their credibility. Perhaps we can use Amara's story to our advantage, portraying them as incompetent and dishonest." Obina nodded, a sinister smile spreading across his lips. "Perfect. Let's organize a grand social event, a trap where we can publicly humiliate Amara. If we can expose even the slightest weakness, her downfall will be inevitable." Using her connections, Obina's wife arranged an opulent charity gala. Amara was invited as the keynote speaker, unaware it was a carefully laid trap. On the night of the event, Amara arrived with Zuri, both elegantly dressed. As Amara took the stage to deliver her speech, Obina and Adaze waited for the right moment. Midway through, Adaze suddenly interrupted, feigning an emergency. "Excuse me, but before we continue, I think everyone needs to know the truth about Amara," she said, holding an envelope of forged documents. The audience froze in anticipation. Adaze began to read, twisting facts and sowing doubt about Amara's honesty. "Here is proof that Amara abused her position at Mr. Kofi's company for personal gain." Shocked but composed, Amara confronted her. "That is a lie. Everything is transparent and documented. This is baseless slander." Nevertheless, the seed of doubt was planted. Whispers spread, and some guests began to leave in mistrust. "This will not go unanswered, Obina," Amara said, her eyes blazing. "I will not allow you to destroy my reputation with false accusations. Obina sneered with contempt. "We'll see how long you can endure, Amara. This is only the beginning." Shaken but unbowed, Amara and Zuri left the event with their heads held high, ready to fight the lies and reclaim the truth. The next day, newspapers and social media were flooded with sensational headlines about the accusations against Amara. Her reputation was under threat. At Mr. Kofi's home, Amara, Zuri, and Mr. Kofi gathered to discuss their next steps. Amara's eyes were red with exhaustion and strain. She looked at Mr. Kofi and Zuri. "We cannot let these false accusations destroy us. We must act quickly to clear my name." Though troubled, Mr. Kofi offered his full support. "Amara, we have faced crises before, and we will survive this one too. But we need a clear strategy." Zuri, showing a determination far beyond her years, spoke up. "We can use social media to tell our truth, show all the evidence, and expose Obina and Adezi's lies." Amara nodded, recognizing the wisdom in her daughter's words. "You're right, Zuri. We cannot rely only on the traditional press. We need to speak directly to the people." Amara and her team immediately got to work, gathering all the documentation necessary to prove her integrity. They decided to host a live broadcast where Amara and Zuri would address the public, dispel the lies, and present irrefutable evidence. On the night of the broadcast, Amara and Zuri sat before the camera, surrounded by documents and charts validating their claims. The air was thick with tension, but their resolve was unshakable. "Good evening," Amara began in a steady voice. "Tonight I want to speak to you directly, without intermediaries. The accusations against me are entirely false, and we are here to prove it." Zuri took the floor and presented the charts and documents. "Here are the full records of my mother's work over the past years. Every decision, every transaction, everything is documented and transparent. We have nothing to hide." As they spoke, social media comments began to shift. People who had initially doubted them started to see the truth behind the accusations. But the most tense moment came when Amara addressed Obina and Adezi directly. "Obina Adeze, I know you're watching. You know everything you said is a lie. And I will not rest until justice is restored. You will answer for your actions." The live stream was a success, and support began to slowly return. Still, Amara understood the battle was far from over. Obina and Adezi would not retreat so easily. Seeing that the live stream was gaining traction and shifting public opinion, Obina and Adezi realized their plan was collapsing. They decided to take extreme measures. They convened a secret meeting with some of Mr. Kofi's dismissed employees and offered them rewards in exchange for false testimony that would further damage Amara. In a darkened room, Obina addressed the group. "We need you to testify against Amara. Say that she manipulated the company and abused her power. If you agree, you'll all receive generous compensation." One former employee named Jabari hesitated. "This is very risky. If we're exposed, the consequences will be serious." Adezi, with a cold smile, replied, "Don't worry. We have contacts who will ensure your testimony is believed. And think about what you stand to gain." Jabari and the others agreed, and the plan was set in motion. But one woman, Asaiz, was tormented by guilt. That night after the meeting, she secretly reached out to Amara. Amara received an anonymous call while sitting in her office, reviewing documents. The voice on the other end was quiet and nervous. "Amara, this is Asaiz, one of those dismissed by Mr. Kofi's order. I need to speak with you. There's something you must know." Intrigued and a little afraid, Amara agreed to meet her in a nearby park. Upon arrival, she saw Asaiz sitting on a bench, visibly distressed. "Thank you for coming, Amara. I can't live like this anymore. Obina and Adiza are planning to use false testimony to destroy you. They offered money to several of us to lie about you." Amara felt a mix of relief and fury. Her sighs. "Are you willing to testify against them? We need evidence to expose their scheme." Though clearly frightened, Asai's nodded. "Yes, I'm ready. I can't let these lies keep destroying lives." Together, Amara and Asai devised a plan to record a confession and use it as evidence. The stakes were high, and any mistake could be costly. They arranged a staged meeting with Obina, during which Asai would wear a hidden microphone. The meeting took place in an unassuming restaurant. Nervous but resolute, Asai met with Obina, who suspected nothing. During their conversation, Asai managed to coax him into confessing the plot. "All you need to do is follow the script. We'll take care of the rest," he said, unaware that every word was being recorded. That same night, Amara and Asai brought the recording to Mr. Kofi. After listening, he declared, "This is enough to destroy them, Amara. We'll take it to the authorities, and your name will be cleared once and for all." The revelation of betrayal in this new twist added another layer of intrigue and danger to an already tense situation. Amara knew the battle was far from over, but now she had a decisive advantage. With the recording in hand, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Asai went to the authorities to present the evidence of Obina and Adiza's conspiracy. The prosecutor's office was busy, but intrigued by the case. The prosecutor received them immediately. "This is very serious," he said after listening to the recording. "We can use this evidence to launch an official investigation against Obina and Adiza." Amara nodded gratefully and replied, "We seek not only justice for ourselves, but for everyone they have manipulated and harmed." Meanwhile, at Obina's residence, the atmosphere was tense. Adiza, realizing their plan might fail, fell into paranoia. An unexpected call from the prosecutor confirmed her worst fears. "Mr. Obina, Mrs. Adiza, we are launching an official investigation into the charges against you. I advise you to cooperate." Obina hung up, his face pale with rage. "This cannot be happening! We need a strategy! Fast!" he hissed through clenched teeth. In court, the tension reached its peak. Amara and Mr. Kofi, accompanied by their lawyers, sat opposite Obina and Adiza, who struggled to maintain composure. Asai's recording was played before the court, and the silence was deafening. "It is clear that Obina and Adiza attempted to distort the truth and defame Amara and Mr. Kofi," the prosecutor declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Such actions have no place in our society." In desperation, Obina made one last attempt. "This is a setup! Everything has been fabricated!" he shouted, pointing at Amara and Mr. Kofi. The judge replied calmly, "Mr. Obina, the evidence presented is irrefutable. You will be held accountable for your actions." With all the evidence considered, the verdict came swiftly and decisively. Obina and Adiza were found guilty of conspiracy and defamation. The sentence included substantial compensation to Amara, as well as prison terms. With Obina and Adiza removed from the stage, attention shifted back to Amara and Mr. Kofi. The community, having witnessed the injustice they endured, rallied in their support. Amara expressed her gratitude to all who stood by them and shared her vision. "We have been through so much, but it has only made us stronger. Now, more than ever, we must focus on justice and equality." Zuri, who had been a quiet yet steadfast source of strength throughout, added, "Mama, I'm so proud of you, of all of us. We proved that truth and justice always prevail." Mr. Kofi, deeply moved, added, "Amara, Zuri, what we have achieved together is truly incredible, but this is only the beginning. Ahead of us lies a bright future full of opportunities, the hall filled with applause and hope. Yet although Obina and Adeze were behind bars, the echo of their vengeance had not faded. One of Obina's partners, a grim, vindictive man named Emeka, swore to avenge his friend's downfall. He knew the weaknesses of both Mr. Kofi and Amara, and he intended to use that knowledge against them. One night, Amara received an anonymous call. "Be careful. Not all enemies have been defeated," a sinister voice whispered before hanging up. Disturbed, Amara met with Mr. Kofi and Zuri to discuss the threat. "We cannot lose our vigilance. We must be prepared for anything," Amara said, her face etched with worry. The day began like any other. Amara, working in the company office, was reviewing financial reports when she suddenly received a call from Zuri's school. The voice on the line was tense and alarmed. "Mrs. Amara, Zuri was not picked up by her usual transport, and she is not at school now. We tried calling her, but she isn't answering." Amara's heart stopped for a moment. Without wasting a second, she phoned Mr. Kofi, who immediately activated his connections with private security and the police. Meanwhile, Amara's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "If you want to see your daughter again, withdraw all charges against Obina and Adeza." The message was clear and terrifying. Amara felt a surge of fear and fury. She knew she could not give in to blackmail, but she also understood that every minute counted. She showed the message to Mr. Kofi, who frowned deeply as he read it. "This is the act of a desperate man," Mr. Kofi said, his voice heavy with concern. "We cannot allow them to win." At Mr. Kofi's residence, the tension was unbearable. Amara paced back and forth, unable to sit still. The police arrived quickly, along with Mr. Kofi's private security team, led by a man named Kunle, an expert in crisis operations. "We will find Zuri, Mrs. Amara," Kunle said with confidence. "We already have leads, and we are tracking the source of the message." Though grateful, Amara could not hold back her anxiety. Her mind was filled with terrifying images of what might be happening to Zuri. She could not allow herself to lose hope, but every second without news was torture. "Kunle, please find her." "I don't know what I'll do if something happens to her," Amara said, her voice trembling. Meanwhile, at an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts, Zuri was held captive by Emeka. He watched her closely, convinced his plan would succeed. But Zuri, though afraid, remained calm, recalling her mother's words. To be strong in difficult moments. "Don't try anything foolish, girl. This will all be over once your mother does what she's told," Emeka said coldly. Amara was on the brink of despair. With the message replaying in her mind, she searched for any clue that could lead her to her daughter. Mr. Kofi spoke quickly on the phone with his contacts, while Kunle's team prepared their plan of action. "We've traced the signal. It's coming from an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city," Kunle reported, walking in with a map. "We must move immediately." "Let's go," Amara said firmly. "I will not stay here while my daughter is in danger." Mr. Kofi placed a hand on her shoulder. "Amara, let the professionals handle this. I don't want you putting yourself at risk." "She's my daughter, Kofi. I won't sit idle. I'm coming with you." Without further words, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Kunle got into a black SUV with several members of the security team. The drive to the warehouse passed in tense silence. Amara stared out the window, her heart torn by fear and anxiety. Inside the warehouse, Zuri sat in a dark corner, her hands bound. Emeka watched her intently, convinced everything was under control. But Zuri, despite her fear, refused to lose hope. She knew her mother would find her. "Your mother will soon give in. This will all end soon," Emeka said with contempt. "My mother never gives up," Zuri replied with courage. "She will come for me, and you will regret what you've done." Emeka smirked, but a flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. He knew Amara and Mr. Kofi were not ordinary people, and underestimating them could prove fatal. When the team arrived at the warehouse, Kunle positioned his men around the building. Every second mattered, and the air was thick with tension. Amara and Mr. Kofi waited by the car, watching the security team prepare for the assault. "Kunle, please make sure nothing happens to Zuri," Amara said, her voice trembling with both fear and resolve. "I promise, Mrs. Amara." "We'll be in and out quickly," Kunle replied. At his signal, the team stormed the building, moving with precision and silence. Outside, Amara and Mr. Kofi waited, each second stretching into an eternity. Suddenly, sounds of struggle and shouts erupted from within. Amara's heart pounded wildly. Then the door burst open. Kunle emerged, carrying Zuri in his arms. Amara ran to them, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Zuri," she cried, embracing her daughter. "I'm here, darling. It's all right." Still trembling, Zuri clung tightly to her mother. "I knew you would come for me, Mama. I knew." Mr. Kofi joined them, his eyes glistening with tears. "Now we are together. No one will ever harm us again." The nightmare was over, but Amara knew the consequences of this act of vengeance were only just beginning. Zuri's rescue brought a brief relief, but news of the kidnapping quickly spread to the press. Soon Mr. Kofi's residence was surrounded by journalists and cameras. Amara, exhausted but composed, prepared to face the new storm. Mr. Kofi organized a press conference in the grand hall of his residence. The room was packed with reporters eager for details. Amara stood at the microphone, Zuri beside her, showing remarkable bravery. "Today we lived through one of the darkest moments of our lives," Amara began firmly, though there was unease in her voice. "My daughter was kidnapped in an attempt to intimidate us and force us to withdraw the charges against Obina and Adeze. We will not bow to such vile tactics." A ripple went through the crowd. Amara continued, challenging her enemies. "To all who think they can frighten us, I say this: we will not stop. We will fight for justice and for truth. We will not be silenced." Meanwhile, in a shadowed corner of the city, Emeka, now in custody, felt defeated but not completely broken. He knew there were still those who shared his hatred of Amara and Mr. Kofi. From his cell, he began weaving a new plan, reaching out to old allies to continue his revenge. At the residence, after the press conference, Amara and Mr. Kofi gathered with their security and lawyers. They knew more protective measures were needed. "We cannot allow this to happen again," Amara said, determination ringing in her voice. "We must strengthen our security and stay one step ahead of our enemies." Kunle, the head of security, nodded. "We are increasing surveillance and keeping close watch on Emeka and his associates. Nothing will be left to chance." Zuri, still recovering from the ordeal, approached her mother. "Mama, do you think this will ever end?" she asked. Amara embraced her, feeling both her fragility and her strength. "We will get through this, Zuri. I don't know when it will end, but I promise I will always be here to protect you." That night, the family tried to reclaim a sense of normalcy, though the shadow of their enemies still loomed. Amara sat by Zuri's bed until she fell asleep, her mind consumed with the next steps. The atmosphere in the residence remained tense, yet a renewed sense of resolve was growing within it. Amara knew the fight was far from over, and greater trials lay ahead. But she also knew, together, as a family, they could withstand anything. While Amara and her loved ones tried to return to normal life, an unexpected and devastating piece of news shook their foundation. Through a legal technicality and the influence of powerful allies, Adaiz was released from prison. The news struck Mr. Kofi's residence like thunder, bringing shock, fear, and anger. Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Zuri were gathered in the living room when Mr. Kofi's phone rang. His face changed, stretching with disbelief and alarm. "What do you mean, Adaiz has been released?" Mr. Kofi exclaimed, his voice trembling with fury. "This is impossible." Amara felt her stomach clench at his words. They immediately turned on the television and saw Edize leaving the prison surrounded by journalists, wearing a triumphant smile. "This can't be," Amara whispered, feeling her world crumble once more. Adaiz wasted no time. With cold and calculated determination, she began executing a carefully crafted plan she had developed while behind bars. She understood. Her freedom was her last chance to destroy Amara and Mr. Kofi. She reached out to her supporters and began coordinating strategic moves for a multi-front attack. At Mr. Kofi's residence, security was tightened, but fear remained palpable. Everyone knew what Adaiz was capable of. That evening, as they tried to sleep, Amara's phone rang. "Hello," she answered, her voice tired. "Hello, Amara," came the unmistakably venomous voice of Adaize. "Surprised to hear me? I just wanted to say this isn't over. It's only beginning. Enjoy every moment of peace you have left." A chill ran down Amara's spine. She hung up and rushed into the hall, where Mr. Kofi and Zuri were already alert, security mobilized. "It was Adaize," Amara said. "She called to threaten me," she added, her voice shaking with contained rage. Mr. Kofi frowned, his mind racing. "We cannot let her intimidate us. We must stay ahead. We'll convene a meeting with our security and legal teams. This time, we leave no weak points." Meanwhile, Adaiz began to carry out her plan with precision. Using her network of contacts and secret financial resources, she orchestrated a series of attacks against Mr. Kofi's company. Compromising materials leaked to the press, internal sabotage struck from within, and hidden threats emerged, all undermining the stability of the organization. One morning, as Amara and Mr. Kofi reviewed the latest fallout from Adaize's actions, Kunle, the head of security, entered with a grim expression. "We have information that Adaize is planning something big. Details are scarce, but she is gathering dangerous people around her," he reported. Amara, resolute and refusing to yield to fear, answered, "We must protect not only our family, but all our employees, everyone who depends on us. We will take the toughest measures possible." Meanwhile, in her hideout, Adaiz watched with satisfaction as her plan began to bear fruit. She knew that psychological warfare could be just as devastating as physical conflict. But she also understood that she needed a decisive strike, something that would utterly destroy Amara and Mr. Kofi. That night, Amara barely slept. The weight of responsibility and fear for her family pressed down on her. But amidst the darkness, she found a spark of resolve. She knew she could not allow Adaize to win. The battle was far from over, but now they were prepared for anything. Since Adaize's release, an atmosphere of unease had settled over Mr. Kofi's residence. Everyone understood they were dealing with a cunning and vengeful mind. Security had been doubled, and every member of the family lived in a state of heightened alert. Meanwhile, Adaize was gathering her network of allies, increasingly dangerous and ruthless individuals. One afternoon, as Amara reviewed the latest security reports, she received a call from Kunle. "Madam Amara, we've received intelligence that Adaize has hired a group of mercenaries for a direct assault. We must prepare for the worst." Amara nodded, her heart racing. Do whatever is necessary, Kunle. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught off guard. That night, the tension inside the residence was palpable. Guards patrolled the grounds, and the family braced themselves for any eventuality. Near midnight, a deafening blast shattered the silence. The building shook from an explosion, followed by gunfire and screams. "They're here!" Kunle shouted, rallying the defenders to repel the attack. Amara and Mr. Kofi rushed to the basement, where Zuri and other family members had already taken shelter. Panic filled the air, but Amara remained calm, soothing her daughter. "Don't be afraid, darling. We are safe," she whispered, holding Zuri tightly. Outside, Adaizi's mercenaries advanced, meeting fierce resistance from the guards. Watching from a distance, Adaizi smiled coldly. She was certain her plan would finally bring her enemy's downfall. Mr. Kofi, armed, joined Kunle and his men in the defense of the house. Despite his age, his courage and determination were unshakable. The battle was fierce, with heavy losses on both sides. The mercenaries, well-trained and heavily armed, pressed forward relentlessly. Amid the chaos, Amara made a desperate decision. "We can't stay here, Kofi. We must get Zuri and the others out. There's a tunnel in the basement. It leads to safety." Mr. Kofi nodded, realizing she was right. "Take them. Kunle and I will hold them off." Without hesitation, Amara led Zuri and the others into the tunnel, a secret passage Mr. Kofi had built years ago for emergencies. The dark, narrow corridor led to freedom, but the fear of discovery turned every step into a trial. As Amara and the others moved through the tunnel, the sounds of battle thundered above their heads. Zuri, trembling with fear, clung tightly to her mother's hand. "It will be all right, Zuri. Just keep moving forward," Amara whispered, forcing calm into her voice even as her heart pounded. When they finally reached the end of the tunnel, a hidden door opened into the nearby forest. Amara helped everyone out, making sure no one was left behind. Once outside, they gathered in a dark clearing, struggling to catch their breath and decide their next move. Meanwhile, inside the residence, Mr. Kofi and Kunle fought with desperate bravery, but the enemy forces were overwhelming. "We must retreat," Kunle shouted. "We can't hold the position any longer." Mr. Kofi, seeing the truth in his words, nodded. "All right. We fall back and rejoin the others. We cannot let Adaize win." Both men, drenched in sweat, executed a strategic withdrawal, using their knowledge of the grounds to evade the mercenaries and reunite with Amara and the others in the forest. On the clearing, Amara, Zuri, and the family waited anxiously. The sounds of battle were fading, but the tension remained. Finally, from the darkness emerged the silhouettes of Mr. Kofi and Kunle, battered but alive. "Father!" Amara cried, rushing to embrace him. "It's all right, Amara. We're alive," Mr. Kofi replied, his voice trembling with relief. Zuri threw her arms around them, feeling hope for the first time in what seemed like forever. Kunle, despite his exhaustion, stood firm, ready to defend them to the end. Gathered in the forest, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Kunle discussed their next steps. They knew they could not keep running forever. The threat had to be ended once and for all. "We must dismantle Adaizi's network from within," Kunle said resolutely. "I have contacts who can help us track her allies and neutralize them. And we must act quickly, before Adaize has time to regroup," Amara added. "We cannot allow her to threaten us again." Though weary, Mr. Kofi supported the plan. "We are in this together. Let's end this nightmare." Using Kunle's intelligence, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and their team infiltrated Adaizi's hideout. The place was heavily guarded, but the family's resolve was unbreakable. With a series of precise and coordinated moves, they neutralized the guards and fought their way to the heart of the compound. There at last, they came face to face with Adaise, who awaited them with a smug smile. "Did you really think you could stop me?" Adaise sneered, raising her weapon at Amara. But before she could pull the trigger, Zuri stepped forward with incredible courage, placing herself between her mother and Adaise. "Enough, Adaise. We will not let you destroy us," she shouted. That moment of distraction was all it took. Kunle disarmed Adaise and forced her to the ground. Amara approached, looking straight into her eyes, her gaze a mixture of resolve and compassion. "It's over, Adaise. We will not allow you to hurt anyone else," she said firmly. Adaise was handed over to the authorities, and this time no connections or legal loopholes could save her. She was finally sentenced for all her crimes. Peace, fragile though it was, began to return to the lives of Amara and her family. Back at the residence, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Zuri sat together for a long time, reflecting on all they had endured. "We went through so much, but we did it together," Mr. Kofi said with pride. "There is nothing we cannot overcome as a family." Amara looked at Zuri with gratitude and love. "The most important thing is that we are together and safe. That is what matters most." Months passed. A family celebration was held at Mr. Kofi's residence. The company had recovered and was thriving. Amara and Mr. Kofi worked side by side, hardened by hardships and united by a common purpose. Zuri, now stronger and more confident, continued her studies and became active in community work, inspired by her mother's example. "Today we celebrate not only our victory, but the strength of family," Amara said in a heartfelt speech. "Together we proved that love and justice always prevail." The family, closer than ever, raised their glasses to the future. They knew the road had been hard, but it was that very road that had made them stronger. Mr. Kofi's residence became a symbol of hope and resilience. In the sunlit garden, Amara, Mr. Kofi, and Zuri sat side by side, savoring a rare moment of peace. The scars of their trials were deep, but deeper still was their love and determination. "We have walked through darkness and emerged stronger," Amara said, taking Zuri's hand. "Now it is time to live in peace and joy." "Thank you for never giving up, Mama. You are my hero." Zuri smiled. With eyes shining with pride, Mr. Kofi added, "We are a family, and together we can overcome anything."